Yeah, I mean, this is kind of addictive. I almost want to, I think like for work, I do like the Fujis, like kind of what you're doing, and also for like talking head in my studio. The Fujis are nice. Like the Leicas, the focus, the contrast detect only is not good enough for like, you don't need to look at it. You can trust that it's in focus. It hunts a lot. Panasonic has the same problem. So I noticed you whip out your Panasonic for more like stills. You don't use it for like video.
Oh, that one, yeah. I only use it for stills.
Yeah, I find that Leica is still very still-centric. Kind of like going back to Fujifilm's X-H1 using the X Processor Pro, third generation processor. It still kind of hunts. As soon as the X-T3 came out, it would just like focus was maybe 80% of what Sony's at, 70%, 80%. You can trust it completely.
I don't trust my X-H1 at all in autofocus. It's a manual focusing camera for me, but...
Yeah, even for talking head in my studio, I can't trust it. It just like back focuses and I don't know what it's doing, but I love that camera. I won't sell it.
You still have the X-H1?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I can't sell it. Like, I don't really need it anymore, but you don't get much money for it anyways.
No, and I think it's a digital classic. I'm gonna keep it. And when I get the XH2, I have it to compare against.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I always think about in terms of even my reviews. So I have the X100F. I'm gonna keep it.
You're keeping it so you can compare it.
Yeah, and I got so I did a TV show, a pilot TV show. It never got picked up. But
oh yeah, I saw you were promoting it on your channel.
Yeah.
There was a little teaser you filmed.
Yeah, and so, no, that was the documentary, that's different.
Oh.
That,
Okay.
but I did a TV show.
Something no one has seen yet?
Traveling the world. I'll send you the link to the trailer for it. The Sizzler, I think they call it Sizzler. And I needed to find my own sponsor, a camera sponsor. And so I had to decide, do I pick Leica or Fujifilm? So I picked Fujifilm because in the show I always have a camera and I'm traveling the world, right? And so I asked Fujifilm, would you be my camera sponsor? And if the show gets picked up, I'll be only using Fujifilm stuff. And they said, sure, what do you want? So I ordered an X-H1, a 35F2, a 10-24 for vlogging, X100F, and then Instax SQ6, and then like a master case of the film. And so we started shooting. Huh?
When was that?
2019. It was all behind the scenes. So that period where my YouTube channel was really picking up, and then I was gone for like 6 months, I was shooting that TV show.
So what happened?
It's a pilot. So, you know, every year, there's maybe like, let's say even one channel, like one broadcaster, like HBO, might have like maybe 25 pilots, and only pick 5 of them. And the other 20 shows get buried, right? So the show just never got picked up, that's all. And I was told that risk. So I knew I would be risking 6 months of YouTube to see if this will work. But the goal was to basically, like both me and the other co-host, so it was basically like, think of Anthony Bourdain type show, but with 2 people. But instead of having 2 chefs, you have 1 chef and 1 photographer. And we travel the world. So season 1 was the Chinatowns of the world. We'd visit all the major Chinatowns.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, and he would always be on the food part of the thing, and I was always on the culture end. And I would photograph the culture. So we both had the same goal of like, I don't want a co-host, I want my own show. And the chef is like, yeah, I want my own show too. So my goal was 2 years or 3 years, and if the show is really successful, I don't care how much money they offer me, I would either leave the network and go to a different one and get my own show. And do what we're doing on YouTube, but do it on Netflix, Bravo, HBO, like some larger platform, and then get all my friends, all my YouTuber friends to come on. So kind of like when Casey and Van Neistat did their Neistat Brothers for HBO, like a decade before vlogging was popular. That was my long-term concept for that show.
Are you still on it? Are you still like working towards it?
No, because the show, we shot the pilot, and then it got wrapped up, and then we're just waiting for someone to buy it, right? But it's still, I mean, it could be bought. But the thing is, if they buy it, they're buying the concept, not necessarily me with it. Meaning, imagine a show like American Idol. It can be franchised globally.
But you get paid for the concept. If you provide them with the concept, they can buy it from you?
But not from me, from the producers. I'm in it. I would only make money if they said, and we like this guy too. But
even if you come up with the idea.
I didn't come up with the idea. It was the producer's idea. Yeah. So my risk was if the show gets picked up, they might not pick me up, right? And they did sell the concept to one place in where the World Cup soccer was, Qatar, but they wanted a Qatarian photographer and chef. So they bought the concept, right, which was called culinary cameras, but without us. They had to get their own Qatarian co-host.
But they never did it?
No, they did it,
Oh,
but not with me.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was the risk. And they were trying to pitch it to a Japanese network to do culinary cameras, which was like green tea of the world and travel the world. So season 2 would have been green tea.
Yeah, Japanese TV, they're probably down for something like that.
Yeah, but they ended up not.
They probably done it in a different way already. They're doing so many shows.
Yeah. So they pitched it and they didn't pick it up. But the show was, our pilot episode was featured at the Cannes Film Festival at one of those smaller booths, and they said that the showing was really good. So they were happy with the concept, but it just didn't get picked up, so. And then after that, my YouTube algorithm was never recovered, and I also was kind of burnt out and realized I don't think I want to do TV shows. So what I've been going through the last week with the Leica event and flying here and getting up and doing all these events late, I realized that's what it feels like to be on a TV show. It's running, hustling, traveling.
Like what we do is stressful sometimes, but I think TV is even more stressful.
Oh yeah, I had like...
Because you're responsible for other people as well.
Yes, I had 10 people following me. I had a makeup girl, I had a sound guy that was always following me, right? Yeah. And I had to put the lab underneath my shirt and they would get tape and put it on my chest.
They wouldn't do this.
No. So and they have a safety boom above, right? Yeah. And then 2 camera guys following me. It was weird. I'll be walking like this, right? Yeah. And then there's just like 10 people following me and it felt weird.
How can you take pictures then?
Exactly.
Obvious. Let's go back to your history. So you got into photography and you decided don't do music, but go to pursue photography or writing. So was there anything between you meeting Eric Kim, starting YouTube? Like what did you do to go for photography?
Oh, I started off, so there's this company called Photo Trader. They're a distributor of Kodak products. I always tell people I work for Kodak because it was a much simpler way to answer. Yeah. But we had exclusive distribution for paper chemistry and pro film, and we basically acted as agents of Kodak. But I was there for a decade. And during that decade, I also shot weddings. I shot football, sports, portraiture, headshots, all that kind of stuff, freelance. And like my father, he always had 2 jobs. You know, you had your 40-hour job and then you had your 20, 30-hour job because I was young and I was hungry. And so I did that for a decade and then burnt out and said, this is too much work. So I quit that and I just moved to different jobs, but I always kept that 30 hours of photography, I always kept that in my back pocket. So no matter what I did, if people met me, they said, oh, what do you do? I didn't really care what I did for money. I cared what I did as a photographer. So I always said, oh, I'm a photographer. And so even when I wasn't in the photo industry, I would still haunt the camera stores because I sold paper chemistry and pro film. So I knew all the local photographers. I knew all the camera shops. So I would always go in there, hang out, see what was new, follow DP Review and all the different imaging. What was the other early ones?
I think I know.
Something dash imaging. Yeah. Digital dash imaging. But I followed all of them just to sort of see what was happening. But I still had a passion for analog cameras, film. I never sold any of my film stuff. During the transition to digital, I was at Kodak, so film was free. And I knew all the lab owners, so processing was free. So I never paid for, and back in my era, developing was cheap anyways. It was like $6.99 at like Costco for triple prints per roll of 24. It was so cheap and film was free. So to me at the time, digital was more expensive than film. And so I never sold, I have all my Minoltas that my father's stuff from the 70s, my own stuff from the 80s and 90s, and I never sold it. And when Eric Kim came along, he kind of said also, you're kind of unique where like, you're one of those, not one of the new hipsters that discovered their father or mother's old camera. You actually were in that era of film, you grew up in it, and yet you're still shooting it, and it seems weird. Why don't you just showcase that on a YouTube channel? I said, oh, so my first video was, I think, the Polaroid Land 250, showing how that worked. And because I had this old land camera, and people thought it was insane shooting pack film. Yeah. And now it's cool, right?
Yeah, now it's super crowded on YouTube.
Yeah, when I was in and that's why I actually kind of stopped doing a lot of analog stuff, because there's guys doing better work than me. I just did it because I was creating content that I didn't see anybody else making. Yeah. And then when I saw everybody else doing it, I just backed off thinking, well, there's so many Cineso 800 videos up, I don't really need to do it anymore.
I mean, there's still new Sinister videos
coming up all the time.
Yeah.
But when I did it, I was one of the first guys doing it, right? Which is like 2016, and now I work with Cine still, right? I have a project, I'll ask them, hey, can you send me some film? I'm doing this project. And I don't necessarily have to create a YouTube video on it. So, I try to be more project-based, and because of that, it takes more time to create content.
Yeah.
Did it stop?
No, I just want to hold it.
Oh, I see.
Let's walk a little.
All right, let's walk. I hope you edit this down to like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I hope I can. No, I know how I will do it. This is good. And these videos are long anyways, and people, I think, appreciate listening to a conversation for longer. Prints. You can even charge money for your exhibition, but you can't use your photo. Yeah, you can pay for commercial use. So, and because street photography is candid, that is, I'm not quoting the court, but they said because street photography in its nature is candid, you can't ask for permission. Then it's not really street photography anymore. So they just said, you can still do it if it's street photography. So I wouldn't worry about it, and if you're like you and you talk to people, then obviously they are aware of you taking pictures.
For me, like that's why I don't like calling myself in fact, on all my socials I remove the term street, because there's all these things like you took a picture of a cup. There's no person, why is this street photography? Or you've asked permission and you've taken a portrait, or they're aware of your presence, that's not really street. And I said, well, if that's your definition.
It's a weird definition of the type.
But if that is the case, and there is some dictionary, because I don't like to prescribe, like as a linguist, we always say we never prescribe language, we describe. Yeah. So in a dictionary, all the swear words should be in there. You don't want to be policing language, because if you're a foreigner and you hear someone saying a word, you want to be able to go to the dictionary and find it, even if it's a slang. You want it in there. Yeah. If you only put real words, then you'll never find the colloquialisms and the slang, and that's an important part of language, because language is always evolving and changing. So if you put boundaries around something like street photography and say only this can be, then there'll be people like me who says, well then screw it, I don't want to be a street photographer. Yeah. I'm going to just leave that genre and call myself something else, and you will lose other photographers who say the same thing, say, well, if that's your definition, then and they're going to leave that behind. Like Latin became a dead language because they prescribed it so much that the people that spoke vulgar Latin, which ended up becoming Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, those were the way the common people spoke Latin, vulgar Latin. But the intellect said, no, that's not real Latin. So they said, well, forget it then. And guess what? Latin's dead because it was over-prescribed. And I think any kind of an art form, when you start prescribing language, you start putting boundaries around it, when the next generation comes in, they find new ways of expressing themselves. So that's why every generation has their ways they say things. Yeah. I find this generation, everything is literal. Literally I did this, literally I did that. And I know it's grammatically incorrect. I'll say, like, you mean figuratively.
Oh, we have that in Germany as well. So many things there.
But you have to accept it. That is their generation.
Wegen dir. Nein, es heißt deinetwegen.
What does that mean?
I can't translate it in English, okay. But it's like, because of you, when someone said, I did it because of you, then the literal translation is wegen dir, because of you, but the right way to say it is deinetwegen. It's a different, German language is very nuanced. You can express yourself in so many ways. It's really a good. That's why German music, German songs are good easy to sing. Because they have so many nuances. So opera, and if you sing in German, it's very good. Italian as well.
That's why Mozart like German.
Yeah, but you can't sing opera in Japanese.
No.
It's too that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Street photography.
Street photography, yeah. Hey, look, and the sun's coming out too. We're gonna get awesome shadows. Now it's time to whip out the 28.
Right. So, for you guys who are watching, I never talk into the camera in these episodes because I want to keep it candid, but we're going to shoot another video after lunchtime. We're very busy today. But yeah, thanks for giving me your time doing this.
That was awesome. Thank you for inviting me. And thanks for coming down from Hamburg. Because I originally said I was coming to Hamburg, and then I said, you should come to Berlin.
Yeah.
And you came down, so thanks. Oh man, it's really noisy here.
Yeah. It's fine, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, my brother lives here, so it's not a big deal. Let's wait before.
Yeah.